Hey guys, it's been a while since you've seen me in person. When I first started out in this channel, I was a mix of atheism, religion, science, and skepticism. Over time, I began commenting on politics, mostly out of the libertarian side. One of the things that set my channel apart from others is most channels would take one of two routes. One would be that of an insider deconstructing and spelling out their path out of religion, while others would attack religion from the outside who may have always believed as they did and found religion just stupid. I took a different approach, and other than 3 videos on my deconversion, I mostly just discussed things I didn't know or understand until recently, and discussed the idea in a way a person who was just as ignorant as I had been could understand it. That way, people could get it if they cared enough about fixing their own ignorance. I talked to people in my videos with empathy and respect, who were on the cusp, who could have their minds changed on an issue if given the right information, and went where the data led. And so I would lead them to the data in the manner I came to it, in case it would help them. Over time I began learning more and more about history, labor, and economics, and American libertarianism became not only a non-viable option, but also a sophistically manufactured ideology created by union-busting business leaders. At a certain point, I stopped learning or thinking about any new ideas about religion. I know all the talking points and beliefs of both the theistic and atheistic side. I created my channel specifically so I could just refer people to my videos instead of repeating myself over and over again. I could also temporarily forget that subject and focus even better on a different subject. And if I needed to think about those issues again, I could always go back and watch my old videos, which would resurrect those old arguments. So this channel has been made not only for others, but as a storage device for my own ideas in case I need to get back to them, and also so I can purge the ideas so I can focus on learning other things. Once I ran out of religious things I didn't know, around 4 years into my channel, I began focusing more on psychology, bias, and dipping my toes more and more into politics. I started a ranked choice voting group in my city and got a crash course in all the crazy things you aren't taught in school about politics and how the sausage is made in politics, as opposed to the laws and ideals of politics. And I was taught how to think from a politician's point of view so you can much more likely change their minds for your cause. From there I began posting more and more about different things about politics I hadn't understood until recently. Around the time of Elevator Gate, YouTube changed its algorithms to focus on getting people to watch their videos more. Similar to Tay, the Microsoft chatbot who turned into a conspiracy nut Nazi in less than 24 hours, the YouTube algorithm had one goal: make people watch longer through suggestions. This helped people in the far right more than anyone else on the internet, especially Alex Jones. All of a sudden, making angry, hatefully vitriolic videos suddenly became a ridiculously lucrative field, and people could make enough to support themselves on just saying how awful liberals, leftists, college students, socialists, civil rights/social justice activists, or feminists were. I also happened to read Howard Zinn at the time, which sent me into a spiral as my paradigm shifted massively, and with trolls taking over the comments section, increasing by 1/3 from foreign nations, no discussion in the comments section was ever fruitful, unlike what I experienced for the first 4 years of YouTube when I was discussing religion. The left had no one to fight back for it on YouTube, and it became alt-right tube. So after a year of just feeling depressed, along with some mental and physical health issues I wouldn't get diagnosed with until this year, I began focusing on being one of those voices, using the same approach I did of empathy and patience for those who are truly seeking truth, even if they disagree with me at that point, but this time snark and disdain for alt-righters who were mostly trolls and bots, or just plain ignoring them and learning how to spot them, and not get sucked into their traps, which took a long time training myself how to spot the differences, and act more conservatively if anyone showed a whiff of troll-like behavior, as unless someone comes to the conversation with at least the tiniest amount of vulnerability or potential to change their minds, or a show of genuine intention, the chances of a good conversation is maybe 1 in 10, if even that. However, over the years, in my mind, my channel has always been about atheism, religion, science, and skepticism, with some politics included. That was my identity, my channel brand in my head. Then my brother recently shared a video of mine with a friend that was, I think, the podcast on reparations. For the YouTube version of that, I just stuck a picture of my logo on it. His friend liked the message, but laughed at my logo, saying it was the most old-school atheist YouTube logo he had ever seen. My brother, who's on the other side of the country and in film school, said I needed to update my look and techniques, and I told him I literally don't have the first clue how to do that. My channel was always held together with duct tape and string. Every single video or audio trick I ever learned was so much work and so many failures because it's an art, not a science. I finally know how to edit so I can remove background noise. I don't have those weird pops and clicks that plagued me for about a year because I broke down and bought a good mic. And I've learned how to eliminate breaths between sentences too, which makes it sound much more professional. I've been doing this for 10 years and have barely changed my format. I was going to make a video asking for suggestions as to how to even market this channel, of what niche I am, as I was all over the board, which is why I called my podcast the aka Anubis podcast, which was meant to be just a placeholder. Then just last week I went through my videos and it struck me that other than a handful here and there, I had only discussed politics for the past 5 years, and the year before that had a mostly political discussion as well. My brother told me that said that I was somewhere in between David Wong and H. Bomber Guy, which that's a pretty cool thing to be told, but everyone can have their opinion on that one. It's so weird when you change so slowly, you never make that connection as to just how much you've changed until you look back at the past and realize it. I'm a politics channel, and I have been for the past 5 years. It just never really dawned on me. So I'm rebranding everything. Sometime this month, my aka Anubis podcast will be renamed to After School Democracy, a nod to my Democracy PSA channel, which aims to fill the gaps about politics, economics, and history that you didn't learn in school. My first idea was to name it, since my podcast was longer, from PSA to After School Special. But Democracy After School Special was too long, so I thought maybe I could shorten it, like PSA. And I realized it would be called Democracy Ass, which is another layer of funny as the Democratic Party mascot is a donkey. Instead, I went with After School Democracy. You'll notice the name change sometime this month. Also this month, using Anchor, which will do all the heavy lifting to market podcasts and advertise up the wazoo, and do it for free, I will be resurrecting my Vaults of Anubis podcast, but go all in, reposting all of my old videos in mostly chronological order from 10.5 years ago, editing them as best I can so that people who may have not heard my old stuff can get introduced to it. I'll also hopefully bring more traffic to my channel overall for free, and with the ad revenue for videos I never made money on before, it can help keep me going and pay for my politics podcast overhead, and maybe even make a little on the side. I will also post any new podcast that doesn't have anything to do with politics on my Vaults of Anubis podcast, which may be once every 3 months or so. So if you haven't done so, go to your podcast store and subscribe to aka Anubis or After School Democracy if you're watching this later, and Vaults of Anubis if you want to hear my old stuff. Some of the audio will be pretty crappy on my Vaults podcast, but I feel I now have a viable way to make this channel gain more followers and stay relevant with a new branding system. It will also bring nostalgia back to my old listeners to the days of past YouTube atheism. Thank you for watching and always being there. Take care, all of you.